They include prosecutors in Gauteng province, the judiciary, and all these are controlled by the drug cartel as well as business people in that province of Gauteng. This act, of course, undermines the criminal justice system in this country.
You were telling us about some of the high-profile cases, including your SARS and all of. Which cases stood out for you, and maybe the findings that you thought that was interesting?
It's a number of them. You know, I had investigations which were backlog cases, as I said. When I discovered the Vrede investigation, the most popular one,
Bloemfontein one.
The Bloemfontein one, you know, which was blown out of proportion, that possibly was protecting ACE and Zwane. But that investigation was there for more than 4 years when I joined the institution.
Yes.
Already there was an investigation which was done, though there was never a report. And the very same investigation, when I issued that report, it was based on, you know, when you conduct investigation, you receive an investigation, we then you triage that investigation, we assess it. Then when it's a complex matter, we then determine which issues we're going to investigate. So we investigate, okay, there is money which was spent, there were allegations of a public-private partnership. There were allegations of this company being linked to the Guptas. So those were the allegations and the complaints were lodged by the DA. Now the investigators, not the public protector, the workers, they then bring that matter to the public protector and say, we've received these complaints and the following issues are proposed to be investigated. And when you identify those 3 or 4 issues, you take it, you write to the person who's being complained against. You then say to a person, we've received a complaint from Mr. D about this and this and this and this. Can you provide us information? We go back to any other person, give us information. So that was already done. Because it's 4 years, you understand? Then the issue to UAC must be investigated of Uzwane, the executive. That was not the issue to be investigated. But what was interesting about that investigation, and all those investigations which we will go through until the Section 194 committee for my removal, those were mostly the backlog cases. So what was interesting in Vrede was that that project was benefiting AMA dairy farmers. Now, DA complained that this matter was that because they didn't want blacks to be empowered, dairy farmers to be empowered in that space. So there's a story behind the story.
Now I get it.
Yes. So it's not about whether the money is people are corrupt or whatever, but the biggest issue was that that project was going to benefit a number of farmers, especially around Vrede. Because government was buying those dairy cattle, and then they allocate the dairy cattle, maybe 5 to you, 5 to that community.
For that to start.
For them to start. And then when they start, those dairies are kept in that complex farm. And then they've got those machines which are complex, which were bought and everything. But then what is interesting is that those local white farmers didn't want that. Because remember, after that, those cows are multiplying. And then you then find a way of bringing back the original 5 back to the state, and then the state can get more people. It was something good. And it was not only ending there, because then it was also going to agro-processing, the dairy, the yogurt, the cheese.
So it was empowering black people for that.
So that was the main problem. that project had to be stopped and destroyed at any chance possible. So it was that, because you remember I was accused, no, but those farmers and whatever, which the issue was, I investigated what was there. And even the very same aides or politicians, when I asked them, but what happened here? They said, no, we didn't act because there was Treasury, which also investigated.
Yes.
We didn't act on the Treasury report, which was saying they must discipline the head of department and the CFO.
Yes.
Because DA, instead of waiting for us to do that, they then went to the public protector. Hence, I had to investigate. But then that's the interesting part, that there was a story behind
the case. Yes.
And indeed, it was going to benefit the people. Then the matter was taken on review. I was then also clobbered with personal costs.
Right.
By what Judge told me and them and Kasak and DA.
This is personal cost of that case now?
Of that case, because they were saying I changed Madonzela's report.
Sure.
And interestingly, when the Section 194 called Madonzela to ask about this issue, Madonzela said, no, there was no report.
Sure.
You understand? But by then, it even went to the Concord. Concord refused to entertain the matter. So that's what happened. Now, the other issue which was interesting is the CX matter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, CX matter, again, interesting in the sense that, or again challenging in the sense, and again disappointing. You know, I took that matter, and also it was a 6-year-old investigation.
Okay.
Already
so it was already there.
Already there.
Please explain to a viewer what was a CXX.
Okay, it's the Bank of South African Reserve Bank matter.
Yes.
Where the Reserve Bank was one actually by then gave money to Bankop.
Okay.
Bankop, it was then later called Bankop Bank, later became Absa Bank.
Oh.
Yes, so they gave them money because they were always bankrupt.
Okay.
And there were various other investigations which were conducted. Besides Bankop, there were also Salambo, Chrysler, and whatever. And there were allegations. ECX is one intelligence company, I say UK, which approached to Thabo Mbeki. Actually, Mandela said Mbeki must deal with that. Yes. You know what? The apartheid government has looted a lot of monies and they siphoned them outside the country.
Yes.
Then CX was saying, you know what? We can reclaim all the monies. The state, outside by the former government, apartheid government.
Yes.
Now Mbeki said, okay, I can't deal with this as the executive. Therefore, your counterpart in South Africa is the state secret service.
Sure.
So work with them so that you sign a contract. So the contract was signed, then state monies were spent. Hence, IPAB Protector decided to investigate.
Yes.
State monies were spent around 600,000 euros to pay this company to locate and follow the money and claim it back. But this company failed to do that. They identified, but they failed to claim the monies back. So when then they were fighting with the state, then I think this company then was using their own agents to then complain and expose the government, because that was supposed to be a secret thing.
Interesting.
Yes. So it was very interesting, because then I also had to interview the late Goodson.
Yes.
Goodson was working at Reserve Bank, but Goodson was then dismissed the Reserve Bank, or was also accused, because in this world, the minute you then go deeper into telling the truth or finding something which will change the lives of the people, was then labeled a Nazist, a Nazi person, because apparently he hated the Jews. It was just a complex thing. But what Ukutsan, when I interviewed him, he was then, I think the video is all over. He was saying, you know what, in South Africa, the Reserve Bank, which then was continuously giving Bankop
Yes.
The monies.
Oh. Yes.
That money and over again, that unlawful gift, which not only Judge Heath, even Judge Davis said the loan was unlawful because Ibanko didn't pay back the money they got from the Reserve Bank. And even Judge Heath said, you know what, it's unlawful, but let's rather let sleeping dogs lie because there will be a run on the rent and all those. So that was interesting but what we found the gap on when the investigator was finalizing the matter was that there is money or an interest which Bank of ABSA, when ABSA took over, was supposed to be paid back. So we were saying then possibly let's reopen the SIU investigation of Judge Heath. Let's find a way of reclaiming those monies. And those monies, the intention being, as Public Protector was saying, it can benefit South Africans and empower South Africans.
But was it reclaimed?
No, it was not. That's what it was taken on review by the Reserve Bank, ABSA, Treasury. You remember? Also, it was taken up until the Concord. I was then covered with personal cost. First time. That was the first time.
This was the first case,
It was Vrede because it was now fashionable to then say we want personal costs against the Public Protector. Personal costs.
Sure.
So that was the first time, and that opened a floodgate of abuse by the state against the Chapter 9 institution. So that 15% where then the Constitutional Court confirmed that the minority judgment was Judge Mkhwebane. If you read that judgment, it was clear. Why are you clobbering her with personal costs? But the fact of the matter, she explained herself because it was like, I met with the President Zuma. It means to interfere with the independence of the Reserve Bank. I met with state security, which is a state institution. Meeting with them was, did you really sign this agreement? Because I cannot conclude that this
you really need to have these people
exactly
and ask them.
So that was the issue. Now then I was still but with personal costs, whereas I was also said to have lied that I used the Economist during my investigation because the media then focused on that. They just criticized the report. And my affidavit, I was saying I used the Economist in the answering affidavit. During the investigation, we used the desktop investigation, but the only person I met was Goodson. And Goodson surely is also an economist. But the main focus was that I lied. I'm still facing the Treasury case.
We're talking cases, high-profile cases. One of it is the sealing of the statements of the president, Cyril Ramaphosa. What was more interesting is that we thought now we're going to see the truth of who paid, what paid. What happened? We were left as a country to say, what's going on?
It's a lot, Kuningi, and as a country, they know you, these people, because they know what you are not angry enough, and you just turn a blind eye. Now we are here. That report I issued it, I think, in 2019.
Yes.
Around there, and that report was a well investigated report. Because we were investigating the president as a deputy president who received the donations as the deputy president to become the president. So remember, the Public Protector only concentrate on state resources, but then under the executive members' ethics code, which complaint was lodged by the DA, it was based on the fact that the president lied in Parliament. The president received 500,000. Actually, my man was saying your son has been paid 500,000. And the president said, no, I'm going to ask him and open a case and whatever. Then 2 days, 3 days, he discovered, no, actually that money is the money which was paid by one of the donors, Watson, towards that campaign. Because he appointed campaigns managers, 3 or 4, and then they were managing this. But then again, on interviewing and engaging the president, said, no, I didn't want to be involved. But you are attending those dinners with the donors.
Yes.
They are saying, no, we were saying, don't expect anything if he's appointed. You know? So there was then that 500,000.
Yes.
Now we were following this 500,000.
Where did it come from?
Actually, because even Watson we interviewed,
Yes.
even there's this auditor,
Yes.
Vrede.
Yes.
We
Yes.
also
Auditor
interviewed,
Vrede, yes.
Guti, what happened? And Vrede was saying, no, we were approached by Mkhwebane and Donna and somebody who said we must deposit the money. So when we deposit the money, they deposited it into EFG. EFG account is the attorney's trust
Yes.
account. The attorney, they opened a trust where people were depositing this money. Now, when we get the bank statements, we discover that there's that 500,000, but there's millions and millions of money. So you cannot come in and find Istungu lying here, and then there's blood also.
When you leave the blood.
You leave the blood, you just take the... No, you must follow what's happening. What's other issues?
So as you were following, you're finding out there's millions have been donated.
And there's people who donated, your who's who. Well, that Mail and Guardian ended up publishing and independent online
Yes.
media.
Yes.
They also published the donors and who benefited. That's why Bonchaveni, they got 5 million, and others who were later appointed as ministers deputy ministers. The one from ENCA who Copeland donated, all those. So now when the matter
now as a public protector, you're seeing all of these things and you're like, okay guys, where do
that's why the report was issued. The president was supposed to have declared the donations, because
which were billions or millions.
He was the deputy president, and a deputy president is a member of parliament, and is a cabinet member in terms of the law. So we were saying, because of that, those monies acquired during that process, he should have declared, and one of the recommendations was that. And the others, we were saying, NPA must investigate if there's any crime committed. Then that's where one saw the reality, that the judges is not what you see. Well, I've already experienced the CX matter, Reserve Bank matter. Now, I've seen it. How can the judges really? I expected them to behave like Mkhwebane and be sober and, report factually, legally, but the facts before me, I've read the papers, it's not like that. Then they took the report on review. Before then, during the process, then the attorney of Mr. Ramaphosa went to, then requested the deputy judge president in chambers, not applying to seal those records.
Wow.
We then were against that. The advocate who was representing us on the matter, it was Advocate Skakani and others, they then also said to the judge, but that can't be. And the judge proceeded and sealed the records and say, no, there's personal information and all those. They sealed the records. Now, when the matter went to the High Court, it was Lambo J.
Yes.
Was the judge president then. Said no. The public protector was wrong in investigating the matter.
So he overstepped.
In the public protector, nothing in the Public Protector Act which allows her to refer and instruct the NPA to investigate. Whereas the Public Protector Act is clear by that. In the Madonsela State of Capture report, it said nothing stops the public protector.
Yes.
Then in this one, so you see, that's how, with my tenure, I could then expose.
So did that now go into when then Parliament wanted to impeach you?
It's one of the charges.
Yes.
The issue of Vrede, the issue Bangkok,
Yes.
SARS matter.
SARS matter, yes.
No, the South African Reserve Bank.
Yes.
The CR17.
Yes.
And then the South African Revenue Services, the alleged rogue unit.
Yes.
Because the investigation, the equipments which were found there, those equipments as equipments which should be used by state security. SARS cannot keep those.
But how did you feel then after this impeachment is going on and you are sitting at home and you're watching this and you're like, guys, I'm fighting for the country, I'm fighting for...
Oh, painful, very painful, very sad. Though we knew that when we were defending the matter, I was happy that it went to that extent, which it's public, for all of you to see and hear my side of the story, because everyone was testifying there, the way I'm treating them. It was so sad because seeing people you were working with, your colleagues, people you were looking after, then going there, you are this horrible person, demanding work. Demanding good people must stick to time frames because there we are dealing with people's lives. You cannot just drag your feet when a person is expecting us to finalize a matter on a certain period. When you just take your time. When you are issued a letter to say, explain yourself. No, it was threatening and, it was not a nice process. But I'm happy that the legal team, especially Advocate Mkhwebane, we agree that this is for the public to know the truth. So yeah, that's why when I was testifying, that was the best ever because I could put my side of the story and even point to which judges were compromised, how were they compromised, and the executive and the evidence, sealed records. Because when it went to the Constitutional Court, in my affidavit, I could state that the president was directly involved, and I think even Mkhwebane used the evidence before the court to issue his minority judgment because there were emails there which were sent by the president to the international donors that they must help Bravin being paid for tickets to travel. So everything was there.
Sure.
Family, we are back again. We just want to discuss this issue of Advocate Mkhwebane, who was once a PEP, which is Public Protector for the country, South Africa. You know what Advocate has said in this video? It was a mouthful that will help us understand why MKHWANAZI has accused the judiciary as being corrupt. So when we listen to Advocate Mkhwebane, former public protector, her investigation, when she was doing investigation as a public protector, we realize that all what she has gone through, she was being blocked by the powers that are faceless. Which brings us to understand that what General MKHWANAZI said on that press briefing, those allegations are now being supported by Advocate Mkhwebane, who was a former public protector, South Africa. Then we have to ask ourselves, who are these faceless people who are running our country from their corners? How much our country is safe? Those are the biggest questions that we should ask ourselves. Advocate Mkhwebane was impeached because she touched the untouchable in the country. The impeachment was successfully. But what amazed me is most of the people who were so vocal in impeaching Advocate Mkhwebane are in serious problems now. Former Speaker, we have seen her crying in court, which brings us to understand Janti is Janji or Janti. He is nowhere to be found. It's been a long time I haven't heard about him. He was never rewarded as he was advocating, and he was the that was no nonsense to push Advocate Mkhwebane out of, or to force Advocate Mkhwebane to be out of the office through impeachment. These are the things that at times we seem to be used by other people for their own benefit. When we get into problems, they are nowhere to be found. So family, this was a quite amazing interview. I've learned a lot from the interview of Advocate or former PP Mkhwebane. It was really, really educationally, and it gave us a good picture to understand as to exactly why was she attacked so much. Where was the hate coming from? Looking at number one sitting in that coach in this profile picture, or the thumbprint, sitting on dollars on that coach, it shows that life is not easy. The poor South Africans are suffering because our leaders have decided not to do what they promised as a new dawn. Family, what do you think about this? Please drop your comment and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Let us fix our justice system. Bravo, bravo.